Beautiful people. Oh. Had to grab my water. Get my sweater. It's cold down here. All right. Okay. All right. Trina, hey, girl, hey. All right, y'all. Here we go. You're in both places now. Okay. Let me just move that up. Hold on, y'all. Trying to get all adjusted here. I got these things sitting on the back of here. Okay, I'm sorry. Let's move this a little bit. All right, everybody. Happy Saturday. Happy Saturday. Tiffany, hey, girl, hey. So, okay, oh yeah, I don't need this one. It's not the plan I need. Y'all got all kinds of plans. Well, I'm not ready. I just got these two of my electronic ones, but it seems like I got them all over the place. All right, y'all. Happy Saturday. Y'all, tomorrow we will be reading the last chapter of Leviticus. Then we start in Numbers. Yes. All right, beautiful people. Let's get started here. 1, 3, 2, 6, 6. Okay. All right, y'all. Grand Rising, Belinda Brown. Okay, let's put this up. Oh, let me say something. I want to thank, well, I guess it's YouTube. It could be somebody from Facebook too. I want to just say thank you. Because with my notifications, like throughout the day, or maybe once or twice a day, I'll go in and check my notifications on YouTube. But I notice sometimes they're, I don't know if they're bots or whatever, or if it's a real person, or if it's just like a automated channel. I don't know that you can really automate the channels. There's a person behind it. But anyway, every now and again I see in the comment section somebody posts a link to something inappropriate, like links to YouTube's full of sex stuff. And I'm like, what is this? Click, delete, remove. But I notice sometimes, because it'll pop up in my notifications, I'm like, oh my gosh. So every time I go to it, I'll go to the channel, I'll block the channel, I'll mute the person on my channel, and I'll remove the comment. So I do those 3 things. But wow, Alicia, y'all, hey girl, hey. Okay. So, but I noticed though, when I go to the notifications there, sometimes somebody has already reported it. Oh, and I will report it. So it's like 4 things I do, and I'll report it, right? So I notice when I go to some of the notifications where that will pop up, it'll had already been removed from my channel. So I just want to say, whoever has been keeping a watchful eye, thank you. So but by the time I click on it, I can no longer report it or remove it, because somebody else who watches the channel has already done it. So I just want to say thank you for that. Thank you. All right. That's this over here, so we'll do the shimmer. All right, y'all. Remember, the shimmer is found in Deuteronomy chapter 6. Starting at verse 3. Hear therefore, O Israel, and observe to do it, that it may be well with you, and that you may increase mightily, as Yahuwah, the God of our fathers, has promised us, in the land that flows with milk and honey. Hear, O Israel, Yahuwah, our God, he is one God. And you shall love Yahuwah your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your might. And these words which I command you this day shall be in your heart. And you shall teach them diligently unto your children, and you shall talk of them when you sit in your house, and when you walk by the way, and when you lie down, and when you rise up. And you shall bind them for a sign upon your hand, and they shall be as frontlets between your eyes. And you shall write them upon the posts of your house and your gates. And Yahuwah commanded us to do all these statutes, to fear Yahuwah, our God, for our good always, that he might preserve us alive as it is this day. And it shall be our righteousness if we observe to do all these commandments before Yahuwah our God, as he has commanded us. All right, beautiful people. So let's go ahead and get started here today with Leviticus 24. What's this up? Boom, boom, boom. Pure oil and holy bread is the subtitle for this today. Okay, y'all. All right. Yahuwah said to Moses, command the people of Israel to bring you pure oil of pressed olives for the light, to keep the lamps burning continually. This is the lampstand that stands in the tabernacle in front of the inner curtain that shields the ark of the covenant. Aaron must keep the lamps burning in Yahuwah's presence all night. This is a permanent law for you, and it must be observed from generation to generation. Aaron and the priests must tend to the lamps on the pure gold lampstand continually in Yahuwah's presence. And we know that this is not even in operation at the moment with a physical temple, because Yahuwah himself had that temple destroyed, right? You must bake 12 flat loaves of bread from choice flour, using 4 quarts of flour for each loaf. Place the bread before Yahuwah on the pure gold table, and arrange the loaves in 2 stacks with 6 loaves in each stack. Put some pure frankincense near each stack to serve as a representative offering, a special gift presented to Yahuwah. Every Sabbath day, this bread must be laid out before Yahuwah as a gift from the Israelites. It is an ongoing expression of the eternal covenant. The loaves of bread will belong to Aaron and his descendants, who must eat them in a sacred place, for they are most holy. It is the permanent right of the priest to claim this portion of the special gifts presented to Yahuwah. Great rising, Shayla, great rising. Leviticus 24, verse 10. One day, a man who had an Israelite mother and an Egyptian father came out of his tent and got into a fight with one of the Israelite men. During the fight, this son of an Israelite woman blasphemed the name of Yahuwah with a curse. So the man was brought to Moses for judgment. His mother was Shelomith, the daughter of Dibri of the tribe of Dan. They kept the man in custody until Yahuwah's will in the matter should become clear to them. Then Yahuwah said to Moses, take the blasphemer outside the camp and tell all those who heard the curse to lay their hands on his head. Then let the entire community stone him to death. Say to the people of Israel, those who curse their God will be punished for their sin. Anyone who blasphemes the name of Yahuwah. Let me just read that again, just in case y'all missed that verse when y'all was reading. Anyone who blasphemes the name of Yahuwah must be stoned to death by the whole community of Israel. Any native-born Israelite or foreigner among you who blasphemes the name of Yahuwah must be put to death. I just wanted to bring that out. I ain't gonna go into detail, but for those of you know, y'all know. Anyone who takes another person's life must be put to death. Anyone who kills another person's animal must pay for it in full, a live animal for the animal that was killed. Anyone who injures another person must be dealt with according to the injury inflicted. A fracture for a fracture, an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. Whatever anyone does to injure another person must be paid back in kind, right? What you do to me, gonna get done to you, right? So just think about the horrible atrocities that's coming on the world for all that they've done to the sons and the daughters of the Most Holy, right? Ooh. This same standard applies both to native-born Israelites and to the foreigners living among you. He said, nobody is exempt. I am Yahuwah, your God. After Moses gave all these instructions to the Israelites, they took the blasphemer outside the camp and stoned him to death. The Israelites did just as Yahuwah had commanded. Leviticus 25. The Sabbath year. While Moses was on Mount Sinai, Yahuwah said to him, give the following instructions to the people of Israel. When you have entered the land I am giving you, the land itself must observe a Sabbath rest before Yahuwah every 7th year. For 6 years, you may plant your fields and prune your vineyards and harvest your crops. But during the 7th year, the land must have a Sabbath year of complete rest. We also hear this in like the Jewish community. It's called the Shemitah year or Shemitah year. It's the every 7 years the land rests, right? It is Yahuwah's Sabbath. Do not plant your fields or prune your vineyards during that year, and don't store away the crops that grow on their own or gather the grapes from your unpruned vines. The land must have a year of complete rest, but you may eat whatever the land produces on its own during its Sabbath. This applies to you, your male and female servants, your hired workers, and the temporary residents who live with you. Your livestock and the wild animals in your land will also be allowed to eat what the land produces, right? So not only are we to practice the Sabbath, right? But the land is also to be given a break. Like it'll get a rest on every Sabbath every week, but every 7th year, no work. If you're a gardener, farmer, all that, let the land completely rest, right? Okay. In addition, you must count off 7 Sabbath years, 7 sets of 7 years, adding up to 49 years in all. Then, on the Day of Atonement in the 50th year, blow the ram's horn loud and long throughout the land. Set this year apart as holy, a time to proclaim freedom throughout all the land for all who live there. It will be a jubilee year for you, when each of you may return to the land that belonged to your ancestors and return to your own clan. This 50th year will be a jubilee for you. During that year, you must not plant your fields or store away any of the crops that grow on their own. Do not gather the grapes from your unpruned vines. It will be a jubilee year for you, and you must keep it holy. You may eat whatever the land produces on its own. In the year of Jubilee, each of you may return to the land that belonged to your ancestors. Now, this is what I haven't calculated yet, y'all. But I believe we are, according to this, like I haven't done the math on this to actually see where we're at. But I have seen a few people talking about where we're in a Jubilee year. I mean, I get the 400 years, but I'm going to see, okay, actual calculation of this. But I need to have all my stuff together to make sure I'm calculating it right, you know, because I don't want to just trust somebody else's calculations. Although I trust some of the teachings, but I'm just in the habit of going back double checking stuff, you know. So, but I haven't really got all that and calculated it appropriately yet. All right, so but in this year, but I have noticed some things happening, right? So so everything should be reverting back to its original owner. You know, debts are canceled, all these good things. You can go back to the land, everything, right? So I have been noticing some things. Like, I'll just use my own personal household without giving too many details, because you know, my husband is like not here with me, but we have noticed like different things being owed to us, like coming to us now. And I'll say this, like even like tax returns, right? Because we're self-employed and like what we grow, sometimes we end up owing or whatever. But we haven't gotten a tax return from the IRS since 2009. Then all of a sudden this year they dropped this huge chunk of money into our account. I was like, wait, what is this? You know, so I was like, wait, hold on, wait, what? You know, so, but think, you know, small things like this, things being like returned to us, I'm like, okay, thank you, Father. You know, so it very well could be, you know, that I'm just using just a couple things, you know, sharing what's personally happened. I'm like, wait, hold on, something has happened. Something has happened, you know, so we could very well be, you know, in like a jubilee year, right? You know, just based on, like I said, my personal life and like a lot of other things. Me and my husband was having a conversation day before yesterday. I was like, babe, I feel like we've been like let out of jail. I said that's the best way I can describe this, because of some other things that's starting to work for us, and we just like, what? Now y'all paying attention to us? You know, and it's like, wait, and it's like all the help in some areas is like boom, boom, hey, Miss Murphy, hey, give me a call. Boom. I'm like, wait, what? So we, like I said, I haven't done the math, but we very well could be. And it could just be the favor of the Most High, right? It very well could be. But sometimes I'm like, okay, Father, teach me how to do this math to make sure I calculate this right, to see if we are, in fact, in the Jubilee year, right? So I just wanted to say that, because maybe you guys, I don't know, maybe you've experienced some things this year. I don't know, you know, so think about it, you know. So I'm really thinking about this, and how do I calculate this appropriately, right? You know, well, like I said, it just could be the favor of the Most Holy, right? Maybe good decisions just catching up with us now. Okay. Verse 14. When you make an agreement with your neighbors to buy or sell property, you must not take advantage of each other. When you buy land from your neighbor, the price you must pay based on the number of years since the last Jubilee. The seller must set the price by taking into account the number of years remaining until the next year of Jubilee. The more years until the next Jubilee, the higher the price. The fewer years, the lower the price. After all, the person selling the land is actually selling you a certain number of harvests. That's a good way to think about it, right? Show your fear of Yahuwah by not taking advantage of each other. I am Yahuwah, your God. If you want to live securely in the land, follow my decrees and obey my regulations, then the land will yield large crops and you will eat your fill and live securely in it. But you might ask, what will we eat during the 7th year, since we're not allowed to plant or harvest crops that year? Be assured that I will send my blessing for you in the 6th year, so that the land will produce a crop large enough for 3 years. When you plant your fields in the 8th year, you will still be eating from the large crop of the 6th year. In fact, you will still be eating from that large crop when the new crop is harvested in the 9th year. Ain't he so good? I'm like, they must have knew how to can some stuff and preserve some stuff in order to keep them that produce and what was being reaped from that fields nice and fresh, right? But he said you will still be eating from that large crop when the new crop is harvested in the 9th year. Like, you're going to still be eating from the crops produced in the 6th year and the 9th year, right? The land must never be sold on a permanent basis, for the land belongs to me. You are only foreigners and tenant farmers working for me. With every purchase of land, you must grant the seller the right to buy it back. If one of your fellow Israelites falls into poverty and is forced to sell some family land, then a close relative should buy it back for them. If there is no closer relative to buy the land, but the person who sold it gets enough money to buy it back, he then has the right to redeem it from the one who bought it. The price of the land will be discounted according to the number of years until the next year of Jubilee. In this way, the original owner can then return to the land. But if the original owner cannot afford to buy back the land, it will remain with the new owner until the next year of Jubilee. In the Jubilee year, the land must be returned to the original owners so that they can return to their family land. Anyone who sells a house inside a walled town has the right to buy it back for a full year after its sale. During that year, the seller retains the right to buy it back. But if it is not bought back within a year, the sale of the house within the walled town cannot be reversed. It will become the permanent property of the buyer. It will not be returned to the original owner in the year of Jubilee. But a house in a village, a settlement without fortified walls, will be treated like property in the countryside. Such a house may be bought back at any time, and it must be returned to the original owner in the year of Jubilee. The Levites always have the right to buy back a house they have sold within the towns allotted to them. Any property that is sold by the Levites, all the houses within Levitical towns, must be returned in the year of Jubilee. After all, the houses in the towns reserved for the Levites are the only property they own in all of Israel. The open pasture land around the Levitical towns may never be sold. It is their permanent possession. So remember, Levi didn't necessarily inherit a portion of the land, but they did, right? Okay, so Yahuwah is their portion alone. Everything that all the other tribes bring to Yahuwah must be given to Levi, right? For Levi to present to Yahuwah. And because of that, Yahuwah said, everything that is given to me, I'm going to give back to you. So Levi really gets the best portion of everything, right? But not only that, they do have to have somewhere to live. So remember, not a separate land was allotted for them, but they are spread out within all the other 11 allotted portions of land, because there needs to be priests everywhere within each tribe to be able to offer the offerings to the Most Holy, right? So within the other brothers' portions of land, there was land allotted to Levi that they may live and grow, right? And it was a nice sized portion of land, because it wasn't just them. They had wives and they had children as well, right? So they were scattered within all the tribes or all the sons, families of Jacob, right? All right, so that's what Yahuwah is talking about here. If one of your fellow Israelites fall into poverty and cannot support himself, support him as you would a foreigner or a temporary resident, and allow him to live with you. Do not charge interest or make a profit at his expense. Instead, show your fear of Yahuwah by letting him live with you as your relative. Remember, do not charge interest on money you lend to him or make a profit of food you sell to him. I am Yahuwah, your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt to give you the land of Canaan and to be your God, right? Yahuwah said, be as kind to them as I am kind to you, right? Don't charge them. Don't charge your brother's interest. Now, you can charge anybody else interest, but don't charge your family interest. If they borrow 10, they're going to pay back 10. Don't make them pay back 15. Do not charge interest to family. That's what Yahuwah is saying, right? And I think there's a whole nice little section dedicated just to that. We're not to take advantage of one another. We're not to charge one another interest. If we fall upon hard times, we are to lend our hand and help them get back on their feet, right? If one of your fellow Israelites falls into poverty and is forced to sell himself to you, do not treat him like a slave. Treat him instead as a hired worker or as a temporary resident who lives with you, and he will serve you only until the year of Jubilee. At that time, he and his children will no longer be obligated to you, and they will return to their clans and go back to the land originally allotted to their ancestors. The people of Israel are my servants, whom I brought out of the land of Egypt, so they must never be sold as slaves, right? But Yahuwah in turn, when he said, when we didn't keep this, he said, by default, this is what's going to happen. And hey, we find ourselves here, right? Studying the Torah from the land of our captivity. Show your fear of Yahuwah by not treating them harshly. However, you may purchase male and female slaves from among the nations around you. You may also purchase the children of temporary residents who live among you, including those who have been born in your land. You may treat them as your property, passing them on to your children as a permanent inheritance. You may treat them as slaves, but you may never treat your fellow Israelites this way. Suppose a foreigner or a temporary resident becomes rich while living among you. If any of your fellow Israelites fall into poverty and are forced to sell themselves to such a foreigner or a family member of his family, they still retain the right to be bought back, even after they have been purchased. They may be bought back by a brother, an uncle, or a cousin. In fact, anyone from the extended family may buy them back. They may also redeem themselves if they have prospered. They will negotiate the price of their freedom with the person who bought them. The price will be based on the number of years from the time they were sold until the next year of Jubilee, whatever it will cost to hire a worker for that period of time. If many years still remain until the Jubilee, they will repay the proper portion what they received when they sold themselves. If only a few years remain until the year of Jubilee, they will pay a small amount for their redemption. The foreigner must treat them as workers hired on a yearly basis. You must not allow a foreigner to treat any of your fellow Israelites harshly. If an Israelite has not been bought back by the time of the year Jubilee arrives, they and their children must be set free at that time. For the people of Israel belong to me. They are my servants, whom I brought back out of the land of Egypt. I am Yahuwah, your God. All right, y'all. So that's talking about really like employer-employee relationships. Like we do the same thing now. We hire ourselves out for labor. We just call it getting a job. But we hire ourselves out to companies and they pay us to do the work. It's the same thing, right? It's the same thing. So when you see that, that's what it's talking about, right? Except for during these days, they weren't technology and everything and how spread out we are, all of that wasn't there. So they had living quarters sometime where they can actually live with their employer, right? Live on the land, right? So we're spread out. We can actually commute. We can use our cars, and I ain't living there with you, bro. I got my own family. We're going to live in our own house over here in Goshen. We can come here and work for you. You know, you just make sure you pay us rightfully. But we still know even the shenanigans and that, people are still not being paid appropriately, right? And from the least to the greatest, wherever we at, right? Okay. Do not make idols or set up carved images or sacred pillars or sculptured stones in your land so you may worship them. I am Yahuwah, your God. You must keep my Sabbath days of rest. Excuse me. Excuse me, God. You must keep my Sabbath days of rest and show reverence for my sanctuary. I am Yahuwah. Hold on. Make sure my voice is clear. Hold on. Okay. If you follow my decrees and are careful to obey my commands, I will send you the seasonal rains. The lands will yield its crops, and the trees of the field will produce their fruit. Your threshing season will overlap with the grape harvest, and your grape harvest will overlap with the season of planting grain. You will eat your field and live securely in your own land. I will give you peace in the land, and you will be able to sleep with no cause for fear. I will rid the land of wild animals and keep your enemies out of your land. In fact, you will chase down your enemies and slaughter them with your swords. 5 of you will chase 100, and 100 of you will chase 10,000. All your enemies will fall beneath your sword. I will look favorably upon you, making you fertile and multiplying your people, and I will fulfill my covenant with you. You will have such a surplus of crops that you will need to clear out the old grain to make room for the new harvest. I will live among you, and I will not despise you. I will walk among you. I will be your God, and you will be my people. I am Yahuwah, your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt, so you would no longer be their slaves. I broke the yoke of slavery from your neck, so you can walk with your heads held high. However, if you do not listen to me or obey all these commands, and if you break my covenant by rejecting my decrees, treating my regulations with contempt, and refusing to obey my commands, I will punish you. I will bring sudden terrors upon you, wasting diseases and burning fevers that will cause your eyes to fail and your life to ebb away. You will plant your crops in vain because your enemies will eat them. I will turn against you and you will be defeated by your enemies. Those who hate you will rule over you and you will run when even no one is chasing you, right? We see that. Shalom, shalom, mother. Don't we see that? Even this little small thing right here. Those who hate you will rule over you and you will even run when no one is chasing you. Good example. Go walking down the street where you see a bunch of black folk. You ain't got to say nothing. Just look and take off running. I guarantee you, every single one of them people standing on that street, either they going to take off running with you or they going to duck, do like this and look around, see what you done looked at and what you running from, right? Because one, it could be a big dog, could be a lion, somebody could have a gun. We don't know. We just prepared to run. Yahuwah say it will be this way until I remove that fear off of you. I'm telling you, if you black, you done all experienced this. You can even do this in the house with your kids. I tested. Down here, just made sure, they were doing or whatever. I did scream, oh my God. Just to kind of get their attention because they were on the game, right? I said, let me just test this in my house. I shouldn't have did it. Father, forgive me. But they see me. I was in the living room. They sitting here playing on the game. And they was talking amongst themselves. And I was like, I'm going to test this. I'm like, oh my God. And I take off running through the house. I saw their face look at me like, what is going? Isaiah snatched his thing off his head. Bella look, she running with her dog. She was running with her dog, baby. Joshua jumped up, didn't even take the headphones off his head. He just started running behind me. And I'm so sorry. I know Miss Lynn, I'm sick of them over there. Everybody flying up the stairs. And I'm trying to hold my composure. And they all running behind me like, oh, the sire runs in the room and slams the door and lock it. He said, what is going on? Why are we running? I'm like, y'all, I love y'all so much. And y'all is so black. I was just testing the principle to see if y'all would follow me. I said, so I know if we get in trouble, y'all right behind me on my heels. They were so mad with me. Mom, I was in the middle of a match. So, but this smallest thing right here, you can test this principle, right? You can tell who the curse is upon or who the scripture is talking about. Oh, you can just do small little tests. Bad mama, I know, right? I was bored. I was like, let me test this principle, right? But seriously, I'm sure y'all know what I'm talking about. Listen. Those who hate you will rule over you, and you will even run when no one is chasing you. As a matter of fact, it goes into a little bit more detail. I believe it's in Deuteronomy 28, and it talks how we will run at even the sound of a leaf blowing or at the sound of a leaf shaking. I'm like, Father, let you be true and every man be a liar, because this is true. Okay, hold on. And not just true here, but it's true everywhere you find black folks hanging out, right? Okay. And if in spite of all this, you still disobey me, I will punish you 7 times over for your sins. I will break your proud spirit by making the skies as unyielding as iron and the earth as hard as bronze. All your work will be for nothing, and your land will yield no crops, and your trees will bear no fruit. Yet, even then you remain hostile towards me and refuse to obey me, I will inflict disaster on you 7 times over your sins. I will send wild animals that will rob you of your children and destroy your livestock. Your numbers will dwindle and your roads will be deserted. And if you fail to learn the lesson and continue your hostility towards me, then I myself will be hostile towards you. I will personally strike you with calamity 7 times over for your sins. I will send armies against you and carry out the curse of the covenant you have broken. When you run to your towns for safety, I will send a plague to destroy you there, and you will be handed over to your enemies. I will destroy your food supply, so that 10 women would need only 1 oven to bake the bread for their families. They will ration your food by weight, and though you have food to eat, you will not be satisfied. We've seen this, right? We seem to just think about the times doing like the hardest slavery of like the transatlantic slave trade, and not just that, but even through like the Spanish Inquisition and stuff, because we can't count that out. All of this is a part of the whole big picture, right? All of this, right? Okay. If in spite of all this you still refuse to listen and still remain hostile towards me, then I will give full vent to my hostility. I will punish you 7 times over for your sins. Then you will eat the flesh of your own sons and daughters. I will destroy your pagan shrines and knock down your places of worship. I will leave your lifeless corpse piled on top of your lifeless idols, and I will despise you. I will make your cities desolate and destroy your places of pagan worship. I will take no pleasure in your offerings, that they should be a pleasing aroma to me. Yes, I myself will devastate your land, and your enemies who come to occupy it will be appalled at what they see. I will scatter you among the nations and bring out my sword against you. Your land will become desolate, and your cities will lie in ruins. Then, at last, the land will enjoy its neglected Sabbath years as it lies desolate while you are in exile in the land of your enemies. Then the land will finally rest and enjoy the Sabbaths it missed. As long as the land lies in ruins, it will enjoy the rest you never allowed it to take every 7th year while you live in it. Yahuwah is so kind that he's even kind to the land. And he said, if you violate the law of the land, allowing the land to rest, y'all gotta go. And we saw that. Think about it. We're still doing it today. Still doing it today. Although we're in the land of our captivity, we clearly see it, right? There is no day that's practiced for rest. Although they talk about rest, there's still everything. You can go anywhere, any given day or whatever week, anytime. Nothing is shut, right? If something is shut, something else is always open, 24/7. You're hungry at 2 o'clock in the morning, Taco Bell got its window open, ready for you to take your order, right? Constant everything, right? There is no rest anywhere, right? You will say, y'all not going to do this in my house. You're not going to do this in my land, right? He said, because if you neglect the Sabbath years, the rules that I set out for this land, all y'all going to go. And while you in the land of your exile, the land is going to enjoy every single year of rest that you did not allow it to take. And for those of you who survive, I will demoralize you in the land of your enemies. You will live in such fear. Oh, there we go. Oh, look, it's right here too. Hold on. And for those of you who survive, I will demoralize you in the land of your enemies. You will live in such fear that the sound of a leaf driven by the wind will send you fleeing. Send you fleeing. Send you running off. You will run as though fleeing from a sword, and you will fall even when no one pursues you. Though no one is chasing you, you will stumble over each other as though fleeing from the sword. You will have no power to stand against your enemies. You will die among the foreign nations and be devoured in the land of your enemies. Those of you who survive will waste away in your enemies' lands because of their sins and the sins of their ancestors. Right? Right? What can we say? Do we not see that? Have we not been seeing that? There is no other people on the face of the earth that this lines up with except for us. Who can argue this? Definitely not us. Certainly not us. We'll tell you, let the Most High be true and every man be a liar. But alas, my people will confess their sins and the sins of their ancestors for betraying me and being hostile towards me. Ain't that what we've been doing now? Father, forgive us and our ancestors, the ones that got us here in this land today because of their disobedience and turning away from you. But at last, my people will confess their sins and the sins of their ancestors for betraying me and being hostile towards me. When I have turned their hostility back on them and brought them to the land of their enemies, then at last their stubborn hearts will be humbled and they will pay for their sins. Then I will remember my covenant with Jacob and my covenant with Isaac and my covenant with Abraham, and I will remember the land. For the land must be abandoned to enjoy its years of Sabbath rest as it lies deserted. At last, the people will pay for their sins, for they have continually rejected my regulations and despised my decrees. But despite all of this, I will not utterly reject or despise them while they are in exile in the land of their enemies. I will not cancel my covenant with them by wiping them out, for I am Yahuwah their God. For their sakes, I will remember my ancient covenant with their ancestors, whom I brought out of the land of Egypt in the sight of all the nations, that I might be their God. I am Yahuwah. These are the decrees, regulations, and instructions that Yahuwah gave Moses on Mount Sinai as evidence of the relationship between himself and the Israelites. Now let me bring out another point here that we hear taught in the church. And this right here addresses and counsels that all out, right? There is this teaching that says that Israel is no longer the bloodborne, right? And I make it the words kind of, but you'll get the gist of what I'm saying. They say now the church has taken the place of the bloodborne. Where did Yahuwah ever say he would cut off his covenant completely with us, right? Because it says right here, just think about that. If you spend enough time in the church, you will hear the church is now, that is no, the tribes are no more. The church now inherits everything. Like, where do y'all get that? I clearly can see where you get it from reading Romans and some of the other things in there that are taken completely out of context by those who are teaching this, right? Teaching false doctrine. Let's just call it false doctrine, right? They're not teaching the truth. Thank you, Mom. Replacement theology. They said the church, that's the word. Oh, thank you so much. Yes, it's called replacement theology. They have replaced Israel with the church. And I'm like, okay, first of all, let's use some common sense here. Once we can identify who this book is talking about, like, I'm not talking down on the Jewish people, but let's just put things in a proper context, right? They had something horrible that happened with them, like not discounting all of what happened to the Jewish people and the whole fiasco with Hitler. That was horrible. That should have never happened, right? But that's like the only thing that they use to kind of play on the words of the scriptures, right? And it's not true, because you can make a few things fit. And by few, I mean very little. Like on one hand, and not even all the fingers on this one hand. You can't, there's maybe like one, possibly two things that you could possibly use that to make that fit. Everything else, you have had to create lies around it. Now, a lot of them people there don't even realize that they have inherited lies from their forefathers, right? But some of them are waking up like, wait a minute, we have inherited lies. We are not the people of the book. And like some of them are coming out and they're kind of being excommunicated from the Jewish population because there's like, no, we've inherited lies. We're not the people. We shouldn't even be here. Like, people are treating us like we're them and we're not them. We are literally a heathen nation, right? So just get just what I'm saying. But even like the replacement theology, they will take, and in some circles, they will take and they would teach replacement theology, but still without all the proper pieces that you are teaching about the wrong. You're still trying to get the people to look at you, but it's not you. You don't even line up with most of what the book say. Let's just look at this common thing right here, right? You guys, granted, all Jewish people are not there in the land. They're in different places. They can choose to come and go as they please, right? Okay, so you're back in your land. What did Yahuwah say would happen when his people are back in their land, right? Did he not say that when they come back, there wouldn't be any more wars or anything, that his glory would reign, it would live among them. They wouldn't be having all these things going on, right? And they said when they come back, it would be so many of them that they would be overrunning the land and there would be no walls, right? Yeah, everything that they're doing, everything that is done is the complete opposite. They're not overrunning the land. It's a small handful of them, for real. And their city, they're totally enclosed by walls. Like y'all, like the common sense, obvious things is right in front of our face. It's like the direct opposite. Like if you don't, like I said, if you don't read this, you cannot see it. It's everything. It's the direct. They're doing everything direct opposite of what Yahuwah said it would be. So he said, you will have no walls, yet they live with inside walls. And every nation surrounding them is coming up. They trying to weed them out the land. Yes, baby girl. Wait. So they say one thing coming out of there, and I give it that most of them truly probably believe what they're saying, right? Some of them are still asleep and they don't realize that they've inherited lies, and they're also teaching the inherited lies, right? And some of the nations are just as asleep as they are going along with it, right? But why are they at war in the surrounding nations, right? Now let's just think about this. You is in the continent of Africa, right? A whole black country. Right? It doesn't matter that you dug a canal through here to separate the land and make it look like something different. No, it's still the continent of Africa. It don't matter about the man-made land. The man-made water pipe that you dug through there to make it look like we separate from Africa. No, my G, that's still Africa. It's still a black continent. How you root out a people of natural descent who live there and replace them with people of a whole different color. I mean, you didn't even closely matching the colors of the people, right? Like, it's like, I like the analogy somebody used. It's like putting a white Cheerio in a bowl of black Cheerios, right? You can clearly see the difference here, right? You don't fit. That's why, and the people don't pay attention. Oh, the nations are coming against Israel. No, my G, they're trying to get y'all out of there. They say y'all don't belong here. Like, y'all don't belong here. You don't belong here. This is not your land. And although I agree that that is not all of the land, I think they're direct opposite of the real land. Like, everything is backwards, y'all. If y'all like really pay attention, y'all see everything is backwards. And it's like this. It's this reverse effect on everything, and I can see it everywhere. And I'm like, well, some people can see it. I ain't the only one, But it's obvious to me now. Now that I see it, it's like I can't unsee this, right? But listen, I brought all that up to say, it said, despite all of this, I will not utterly reject or despise them while they are in exile in the land of their enemies, and that I will not cancel my covenant with them by wiping them out, for I am Yahuwah their God. For their sakes I will remember my ancient covenant with their ancestors, whom I brought out of the land of Egypt in the sight of all the nations, that I might be their God. I am Yahuwah. So they weren't, and just some of these things, they weren't scattered everywhere. All these things are still going on where they're supposedly back in their land. There's not this peace that Yahuwah, granted they're talking, oh, it's so peaceful here, and you go, they talk about the wars, but it's so peace. Yeah, no, it peace would reign over the entire world. Like, it's like you have to pay attention, y'all. And I don't want to harp on that anymore, but I'm just saying, like, things like this, even the whole replacement theology that they try and teach is off, because you still don't have the people right. If you don't get the people right, everything else you say, every single prophecy is going to be completely off. And it's time for the prophecies to fail, as we've been seeing. They're falling from the top down, from the mouths of the false prophets, and it's still some descending now. I'm like, this is foolishness. Okay, y'all. So that was it for here. Let's go ahead and go to the Legends of the Jews. Am I tripping? What does this girl do with my book? Today. Hold on, y'all. This girl done took my book. Bella! Oh, I'm sorry. She didn't take what she did. She moved it. Okay. I didn't see it was over there sitting on the chair. She's trying to get into the deep freezer to get some ice cream first thing in the morning. Okay, y'all. All right, so let's pick it back up from yesterday. 266. Ooh, yes, okay. All right, 266. And if you have the smaller book, it's volume 3, and the section is called "The Time Is at Hand." Okay. Moses sent his father-in-law Jethro back to his home shortly before the revelation on Mount Sinai. He thought, when Yahuwah gave us a single commandment of the Torah in Egypt, the Passover, he said, there shall be no stranger eat thereof. Surely Jethro may not look on Yahuwah. There shall no stranger eat thereof. Surely Jethro may not look on when Yahuwah bestows on us the whole Torah. Moses was right. Yahuwah did not want Jethro to be present at the revelation. He said Israel was in Egypt, bound to work with clay and bricks, at the same time as Jethro was sitting at home in peace and quiet. He who suffers with the community shall share their future joys, but he who does not share the sufferings of the community shall not partake in their rejoicing, right? And we can see, they always at war. I'm going to come back and check these comments from when I'm done, y'all. And we can see, even as we was learning about the glory cloud, about the ones who had to walk outside of it, only the ones who were in like the hard bondage got to be the ones who walked inside of the cloud, right? So it was their time of peace, their time of rest. So even some of those who are joining with us and truly love us, but they are of another nationality. And I know they call it white privilege or whatever, and although they love us and they would, some of them would literally give their lives to help protect us, but they still don't necessarily understand what it means to be with us. Like, they can sympathize, they can empathize with us, but they truly don't understand because it's never happened to them. And it's the same thing with what he's saying right here. He said he didn't want Jethro present when the Torah was given, right? And let me just read. Listen to what he said. Listen, and this makes things make sense. Even the story that I gave yesterday about how when we were celebrating the Passover, how the lamb had fallen out of the bag and we didn't even realize it until later, because the person who was giving some of the stuff to, they were of another nationality. They were Caucasian, really close with my sister, and they the sweetest people, but it's like the same principle, right? Listen. Moses sent his father-in-law Jethro back to his home shortly before the revelation on Mount Sinai. He thought, when Yahuwah gave us a single commandment of the Torah in Egypt, the Passover, he said, there shall no stranger eat thereof. Surely Jethro may not look on when Yahuwah bestows on us the whole Torah. Moses was right. Yahuwah did not want Jethro to be present at the revelation. He said, Israel was in Egypt, bound to work with clay and bricks, at the same time as Jethro was sitting at home in peace and quiet. He who suffers with the community shall share their future joys, but he who does not share their sufferings of the community shall not partake in their rejoicing. That's a whole sermon right there, and that'll preach, right? Yahuwah had not only good cause to delay the giving of the Torah until after the departure of Jethro, but the time he chose to bestowing it was also chosen for a good reason. Just as a female proselyte or a woman freed from captivity or an emancipated slave may not enter wedlock before she... Hold on. Listen. Ooh, this is so good, y'all. Hold on. I'm going to go back. My eyes be kind of running fast while I'm reading ahead. So my voice is actually kind of trailing my eyes. And so I had to slow myself down. Okay. Just as a female proselyte or a woman freed from captivity or an emancipated slave may not enter wedlock before she has for 3 months lived as a free woman or free Jewess. So Yahuwah also waited for 3 months after the deliverance of Israel from the bondage and the slavery of Egypt, before his union with Israel on Mount Sinai. Yahuwah furthermore treated his bride as did that king who went to the marriage ceremony only after he had overwhelmed his chosen bride with many gifts. So did Israel first receive manna, the well, and the quails, and not till then was the Torah granted to them. Moses, hold on, let me go back and read. God, guys, it's so good. Let me just read that again. Hold on, listen. Let's start right here. Just as a female proselyte or a woman freed from the captivity or an emancipated slave may not enter wedlock before she has for 3 months lived as a free Jewess, so Yahuwah also waited 3 months after the deliverance of Israel from the bondage and the slavery of Egypt. Before his union with Israel on Mount Sinai, Yahuwah furthermore treated his bride as did that king who went to the marriage ceremony only after he had overwhelmed his chosen bride with many gifts. So did Israel receive first the manna, the well, and the quails, and not till then was the Torah granted them. Moses, who had received this promise when Yahuwah had first appeared to him, had appeared to him, viz. It say V-I-Z, like, maybe they couldn't read that or something. Hold on. Moses, who had received this promise when Yahuwah had first appeared to him, maybe that means visually. I don't know. It's kind of abbreviated, y'all. It's V-I-Z. Okay. When thou hast brought forth the people out of Egypt, ye shall serve Yahuwah upon this mountain. Waited most longingly for the promised time, saying, when will this time come to pass? When will the time draw near? Yahuwah said to Moses. When will the time draw near? Yahuwah said to Moses, the time is at hand when I shall bring about something entirely new. This new miracle of which Yahuwah spoke of was the healing of all the sick among the Jews. Yahuwah had wanted to give the Torah to the Jews immediately after the exodus from Egypt, but among them were found many that were lame, halt, deaf. Wherefore Yahuwah said, the Torah is without a blemish. Hence I would not bestow it on a nation that has in it such that are burdened with defects. Nor do I want to wait until their children shall have grown to manhood, for I do not desire any longer to delay the delight of the Torah. Ooh, that's so good, y'all. I just want to scream right now, right? Because we also hear this. Ooh, we also read this. I mean, in what book is it? It's in one of the books of the prophets. It talks about this, right? When we're regathered again, how there's going to be no lame or sick among us. Like what he did here, he's going to do again, right? So think about all our people right now who are lame or are burdened in some type of way, whether they're in a wheelchair, whether they're struggling with mental issues, maybe from the PSTD from slavery that's been passed down, and maybe they were born with some kind of birth defect. All of those things, Yahuwah said, and it goes back to the sacrifice, right? He said, I'm a great king. Would you offer your king a lame animal? You know, he said, so don't come offer it to me. Give me the best of what you got. He said, you are holy, be holy like me. Right? He said, if you're going to serve, I need those who are completely whole to serve in these fashions. He said, I'm a great king. Don't go out here messing up my good name, getting people looking all crazy and stuff. You know, so he said he didn't want that. So he decided he was going to heal everybody. Just like that, right? And it's so amazing because I remember it might take me out how I want to share this dream that I had. Like, it's been like 3 years. Okay, but I want to get off. I'll share that dream at another time. But it's when I read this, I think about that, and like my dream was like that, and I saw it was like this. I ain't gonna tell it all, but it was this thing happening, and I saw people who were like in wheelchairs and stuff, and it was like this great glory that was poured out upon our people. And I began, you ever guys ever walk past a children's park and they're playing and you hear the screams and stuff, but it's not screams of terror. It's like screams of joy and giggling and laughter. That's what I heard while all this was going on. And the people who were like, had been bound to wheelchairs, it was like they was testing out their body like, oh, shoot. wait a minute, you know. And it was like, it was weird because some of them were even flying through the air. It was like we were suspended in air, like it was like some type of I don't know, but it was like I knew we weren't like on the ground. It was like we were suspended in the air while all this great glory was being poured out. And it was like this quick like swooping. It was like I was picked up, and like I got this thing where I'm afraid of heights, right? And it was like, and I don't like getting on roller coasters because of the drop and all this stuff. And it was like in this big cloud of glory, I was swooped up like really fast. It almost felt like like one of them drop type things on a roller coaster. And I just, you know me, you know, you think you in trouble, you just ball yourself up. I didn't know what was happening, but I balled myself up. I'm like, oh, and it was like I was swooped and I was suspended. But I noticed for a second that I didn't have that, like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna fall off this roller coaster type feeling. And I was hearing screams, but then I realized the screams were like screams of children laughing, and they were so excited that their bodies were healed. Guys, it was the craziest dream. Not crazy, but it was the best friggin' dream I've ever had about people being healed, right? And so when I see this and I read this, I was like, maybe that is what that dream meant, right? So this is what it's talking about. Listen. Okay. This new miracle of which Yahuwah spoke was the healing of all the sick among the Jews. Yahuwah had wanted to give the Torah to the Jews immediately after the exodus from Egypt, but among them were found many that were lame, halt, or deaf. Wherefore Yahuwah said, the Torah is without a blemish. Hence would I not bestow it on a nation that has in it such as are burdened with defects, nor do I want to wait until their children shall have grown to manhood, for I do not desire any longer to delay the delight of the Torah. For these reasons, nothing was left him to do but heal those afflicted with disease. In the time between the exodus from Egypt and the revelation on Mount Sinai, all the blind among the Israelites regained their sight. All the halt became whole, so that the Torah might be given to a sound and healthy people. Oh, what great days, right? Wow. Yahuwah wrought for that generation the same miracle which he will hereafter bring about in the future world, when the eyes of all the blind shall be opened, the ears of the deaf shall be unstopped, and the lame man leaps as a hart, and the tongues of the dumb sing. Matter of fact, I think some like this, what I just read, you'll find that in one of the books of the prophets. I can't remember exactly which one, but it's there. And it's talking, that happens, you know, as he regathers us, right? Not only physically was this generation free from blemishes, but spiritually too. It stood on a high plane, and it was the combined merits of such a people that made them worthy of their high calling. Never before or after lived a generation as worthy as this of receiving the Torah. Had there been but one missing, Yahuwah would not have given them the Torah. For he layeth up wisdom for the righteous. He is a buckler to them that walk uprightly. For one other reason did Yahuwah delay the revelation of the Torah. He had intended giving them the Torah immediately after their exodus from Egypt, but at the beginning of the march through the desert, great discord regained among them, nor was harmony established until the new moon of the third month.
Why do that?
Why did I do that? Because I was looking for my book.
I just said it there.
I know you did, but leave it alone. You can't get any anyway, because it's going to be too hard for you to scoop. No, don't put that over there. I was looking for my stuff, girl. Get here. Get here.
I can't.
Listen, leave it alone. And you've been upstairs in my body spray too, huh? Listen.
It's right there.
Can you pull it out? I ain't going to pull it out so I'm ready to. If you can pull it out, you can go and put it on the counter. I'll let you go on and try and struggle with it. Okay. For one other reason did Yahuwah delay the revelation of the Torah. He had intended giving them the Torah immediately after their exodus from Egypt, but at the beginning of the march through the desert, great discord reigned among them, nor was harmony established until the new moon of the 3rd month, when they arrived at Mount Sinai, whereupon Yahuwah said, the ways of the Torah are ways of loveliness, and all its paths are paths of peace. I will yield the Torah to a nation that dwells in peace and unity. This decision of Yahuwah now to give them the Torah also shows how mighty is the influence of penance, or like repentance, or like a repentant heart, right? For they had been sinful upon their arrival at Mount Sinai, continuing to tempt Yahuwah and doubting his omnipotence. Hold on, let me just tell you something. What did this just say to us? Like, they still acting a fool, right? After all the plagues that they saw with their own eyes coming out of this place where nobody could free them from, on the way to the mountain to meet the Most Holy, they were provided food in a supernatural way. Like, all these things. Like, what, people, what is wrong with y'all? Like, y'all seeing all these things. They see more than any generation I ever seen, right? And not only that, everybody was healed supernaturally. Like, when did the shenanigans stop and believe that this God who says he is our God is truly telling the truth to us, right? And even more so, Yahuwah said, I'm going to go on with my plan. Like, I seen they was going to be doing all this. He said, but I'm going to still keep my promise, right? I'm going to still keep my promise to my friend Abraham, right? And he just kept on. And I'm just like, oh, I'm just grateful that we made it this far, where I'm in this generation where I'm alive. I'm like, if ain't nobody else keeping it, I'm going to keep it. Just show me what to do. Okay, I'm going to just read it every day. Just make sure we get this right? Even if you kept everybody alive just for me, just to see me and many, many future generations later, I'm going to do it for you. Hey, stop. In a minute. Okay, hold on. Okay. For they had been sinful upon their arrival at Mount Sinai, continuing to tempt Yahuwah and doubting his omnipotence. After a short time, however, they changed in spirit, and hardly had they reformed when Yahuwah found them worthy of revealing to them the Torah. The 3rd month was chosen for the revelation, because everything that is closely connected with the Torah and with Israel is triple in number. The Torah consists of 3 parts: the Pentateuch, the prophets, and the hagiographa, or the law, the prophets, and the writings, right? Similarly, the oral law consists of the Midrash, the Halakha, and the Haggadah. The communications between Yahuwah and Israel were carried on by 3: Moses, Aaron, and Miriam. Israel is also divided into 3 divisions: priests, Levites, and laymen. And furthermore, they are descendants of the 3 patriarchs, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. For Yahuwah has preference for the 3rd. It was the 3rd of Adam's sons, Seth, who became the ancestor of humanity, and so too it was the 3rd among Noah's sons, Shem, who attained the highest station. Among the Jewish kings too, it was the 3rd, Solomon, whom Yahuwah distinguished before all others. The number 3 plays a particularly important part in the life of Moses. He belonged to the tribe of Levi, not of only which is the 3rd of the tribes, but has a name consisting of 3 letters. He himself was the 3rd of the children of the family. His own name consists of 3 letters. In his infancy, he had been concealed by his mother throughout 3 months, and in the 3rd month of the year, after a preparation of 3 days, did he receive the Torah on a mountain, the name of which consists of 3 letters. Okay, so where we at? Ooh, we're at 107. Guys, this next section is talking about when all the other nations refused the Torah. Should we read it today or should we wait till tomorrow? Ooh, okay, listen. Ooh, hold on. We at 107, y'all. It's Saturday. Okay. Maybe I should wait till tomorrow. I don't know. What y'all think? Y'all want to start this today and just kind of cut it off? Because if I start reading this today, I'm going to have to cut it off. I mean, it's short. It's like a small paragraph on this page and a small paragraph at the top. We can start today. I'll let y'all choose today. Y'all want me to start this today and cut it off right here and then pick the rest of it up tomorrow? Or y'all want to just wait because we already an hour and 8 minutes. I'll let y'all choose today. Somebody on Facebook. Somebody on YouTube.
Mom.
Yes.
Look, you just want to cook my ice cream.
You not asleep. Standing up.
Sleep.
Okay, go lay down. No answer today. Read it. Okay. All right, Tootie. Give me 5 minutes. I promise I'll be done in about 5 minutes and I'll scoop it myself, okay? All right, have a sit up here. Sit up here in 5 minutes. All right. Hold on. 1 second. I'm going to read it for you. Hold on. Come here. You want to sit up here or you want to go upstairs someday? I'm going to scoop it in a minute and you got to go upstairs. Come on. Until I'm done. And I'll be done in about 5 minutes. On up. Go. We got to be quiet. Okay, y'all. She's trying to get ice cream. She's trying to always get ice cream first thing in the morning. Bella, you keep on crying, you're not going to get ice cream, so hush it. Okay. All right, y'all. Don't feel bad. Don't feel bad. Because she be trying to get ice cream every morning for breakfast. All right, y'all got kids, y'all know. Okay. The Gentiles refuse the Torah. Y'all hear? She's mad with me. Okay. The mountain on which Yahuwah made his revelation bears 6 names. It is called the Desert Sin because Yahuwah there announced his commandments. It is called the Desert Kadesh because Israel was sanctified there. The Desert Kamut because the pre-existing Torah was there revealed. The Desert Paran because Israel there was greatly multiplied. The Desert Sinai because the hatred of Yahuwah against the heathens began there, for the reason that they would not accept the Torah. And for this same reason, it is called Horeb, because the annihilation of the heathens was there decreed by Yahuwah. For the wrath of Yahuwah against the heathens dates from their refusal to accept the Torah offered to them. Before Yahuwah gave Israel the Torah, listen, this is what I was telling y'all. Before Yahuwah gave Israel the Torah, he approached every tribe and nation and offered them the Torah, that hereafter they might have no excuse to say, had the Holy One, blessed be he, desired to give us the Torah, we should have accepted it. He went to the children of Esau and said, will ye accept the Torah? They answered him, saying, what is written therein? He answered, thou shalt not kill. Then they all said, will thou perchance take from us the blessing which our father Esau was blessed? For he was blessed with the words, by thy sword thou shalt live. We do not accept the Torah. Thereupon he went to the children of Lot and said to them, will ye accept the Torah? They said, what is written therein? I mean, like, how the Most High, the God of the universe, come to you and ask you, will you accept something? You got the nerve like, you want this bag? What's in the bag? First of all, let me acknowledge that you are the most holy one, and whatever is in that bag can only mean good for me. Yes, give it to me. I want all of it. You ain't got to tell me what's inside. I'm sure I'm experience everything along the way, right? Listen. Thereupon he went to the children of Lot and said, will ye accept the Torah? They said, what is written therein? He answered, thou shalt not commit unchastity. They said, from unchastity do we spring. We do not accept the Torah. Because remember, Lot's daughters got him drunk and slept with him and produced the offspring, the Moabites and the Amorites, right? We can't commit unchastity. Unchastity is how we got here. No, we don't want it, right? Thou shalt not commit unchastity. They said, from unchastity do we spring. We do not want to accept the Torah. Then he went to the children of Ishmael and said to them, do ye want to accept the Torah? They said to him, what is written therein? He answered, thou shalt not steal. They said, will thou take from us the blessing which with our father was blessed? Yahuwah promised him, his hand will be against every man. We do not want to accept thy Torah. Thence he went to all the other nations who likewise rejected the Torah, saying, we cannot give up the law of our fathers. We do not want thy Torah. Give it to thy people Israel. Upon this he came to Israel and spoke to them. Will ye accept the Torah? They said to him, what is written therein? He said, 613 commandments. They said, all that Yahuwah has spoken, we will do and be obedient. O Lord of the world, they continued, we acted in accordance with thy commandments before they were revealed to... Hey, ain't know what I just said? We acted in accordance to your commandments before they were even revealed to us. Yahuwah said, I'm going to just give you a lump sum. It's 613 commandments. Okay, whatever's in them can only be good for me. Yes, give them to me, all of them, right? Look. Upon this, he came to Israel and spoke to them. Will ye accept the Torah? They said to him, what is written therein? He answered, 613 commandments. They said, all that Yahuwah has spoken, we will do and be obedient. O Lord of the world, they continued, we acted in accordance with thy commandments before they were revealed to us. Jacob fulfilled the first of the 10 commandments by bidding his sons put away strange gods that were among them. Abraham obeyed the commandment, do not take the name of Yahuwah in vain, for he said, I have lifted up my hand unto Yahuwah, the Most High God. Joseph fulfilled the commandment to remember the Sabbath and keep it holy. And when his brothers came to him, he had everything for their welcome prepared on Friday. Isaac observed the law to honor his father and his mother. And when he allowed Abraham to bind him on the altar as a sacrifice, Judah observed the commandment not to kill when he said to his brothers, what profit is it if we slay our brother and conceal his blood? Joseph observed the law, thou shalt not commit adultery, when he repulsed the desire of the wife of Potiphar. The other sons of Jacob observed the commandment, thou shalt not steal, saying, how then should we steal out of Yahuwah's house gold and silver? Abraham observed thy commandment, thou shalt not bear false witness, for he was a true witness, and bore witness before all the world that thou art Lord of all creation. It was Abraham also who observed the last of the 10 commandments, thou shalt not covet, saying, I will not take from thee a thread, even to a shoe latchet. And that's why I said that's where it started. Cut us off and go right into the next section. So I hated to have cut it off right there today. We can pick it back up. Matter of fact, I might just tomorrow, since there's one chapter left, and that's what I think I'm gonna do tomorrow, because there's one chapter left in the book of Numbers. In the book of Leviticus, for the sake of keeping the chapters together in threes. When we start in Numbers, we're gonna read that one by itself, and we'll finish off Leviticus. We're gonna seal it off right with the last chapter. We're gonna come back here tomorrow. We're gonna reread this so we can flow right into the next section, because once I start reading this, the contest on the mountain and the Torah offered to Israel, oh my gosh, like all of this all this got to flow together, but it's going to be split up a little bit too. But anyway, y'all got to hear all of that together. It's just like, it's so good. I think the first time I read it, I was so excited. It's like, and as it started explaining how good the Torah is, like, that's what I'm like, guys, what are y'all talking about? It's done away with. Have y'all not read it? It literally, when you go through it and you begin to understand it, it is literally like kisses being put all over your body. This side, so go turn your face, let me kiss you over here. So I was like, oh, yes, everywhere, right? It's so good. But that literally is going to talk about how good it is and how it's like kisses upon the body, right? I'm like, oh, this is so good. So I really hope that y'all actually read ahead so y'all can flow with me. Like, read it a couple times before we come back here tomorrow and go through this together. So I'm so excited. Every time I read this and listen to this, I'm just like, I just stop everything else I'm doing. I was like, oh, this is beautiful. I wish people would just pay attention. Just go read it, people. Just go read it. It's so good. Like, oh, yeah, okay. I'm done. Okay, y'all. So we read Leviticus 24, 25, and 26, and we started on page 266 of Legends of the Jews, and we ended right here on page 268. But we're going to pick this back up tomorrow, right? And we're going to get a good portion of this read. Hopefully we can get through all this section where they receive the Torah. I'm going to try not to jump in so much so we can actually get through it, right? So with that being said, I surely hope y'all enjoyed the reading for today. So let's go ahead and jump on over here to the blessing, which is found in Numbers chapter 6. Boom. Okay. Numbers chapter 6, verses 22 through 27. Remember, the first 21 verses is the Nazirite vow, and a man or woman can take the vow. And Yahuwah spake unto Moses, speak unto Aaron and unto his sons, saying, on this wise ye shall bless the children of Israel, saying unto them, may Yahuwah bless us and keep us. May Yahuwah make his face to shine upon us and be gracious unto us. May Yahuwah lift up his countenance upon us and give us his peace. And they shall put my name upon the children of Israel, and I will bless them. All right, beautiful people. This is getting more exciting day by day. Okay. Oh, yeah. I just saw your comment, Alicia. He says the day and the night will pass away before that happens. I know exactly what you was talking about when you said that we was talking about the replacement theology thing. Like, Yahuwah said, I would never replace my people. Like, I have inscribed them on the palm of my hand. Like, it's like a tattoo on my hand. Not that he will ever forget. He said, even if he didn't say this, but I'm just saying, I've inscribed them on the palm of my hand. So that if I ever forgot they're my people, I got reminders everywhere, right? He said, I would never forget. I would never replace them. So anytime you hear that replacement theology, y'all, run away from it. Run away from it. Run away from it. Because some people preach that message with fire and brimstone. Like, there is no more Israel. There is only the church. Everything is going to be poured out upon the church, which is that's a lie. Because everything that's coming, Yahuwah said, I'm pouring it out upon my people. Right? Okay. Right. There's a restoration coming for his people, right? Because all the other nations have had this privilege. So we the ones that's going to get to walk inside the glory cloud again for all the nations to see. Oh, Yahuwah going to make it known that, you mean they've been the people all this time? Like the people we've been treating like they the people. Like, some people's going to get a rude awakening, right? All right. That's it, y'all. I'm done. I'll see y'all tomorrow, 7:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time.